What if I told you that every second slipping through your fingers is not just time lost, but power abandoned? That the minutes you waste scrolling, doubting, hesitating, are not neutral moments, but acts of surrender. Not to some enemy out there, but to a force far more dangerous drift. Because time does not wait, it does not forgive, and it does not return. Time is not your servant, it is not your friend. Time is a weapon, and in the hands of the undisciplined, it turns on its owner. The truth about time. It is the great separator, the silent judge. It exposes the difference between those who talk and those who build, between the man who becomes legend and the one who leaves nothing behind. Every empire, steel oil technology revolution was not born from more talent, more resources, or better luck. It was born from a man who decided that every hour mattered, that every breath had weight, that every decision carried legacy. And the tragedy, most will never feel the sting of that truth, because they never truly lived on schedule. They lived by reaction, by emotion, by impulse. And in that life, their dreams died quietly. Not because they weren't capable, but because their time was stolen by distraction. Let me say this as clear as I can. If you do not command your time, someone else will. They will steal your mornings with noise, steal your afternoons with meetings, steal your nights with doubt, and before you know it, your story will end. Written by hands that weren't yours. But here's the fire that must burn in you now. Your calendar is not just a tool, it is a mirror. It shows who you are, not who you say you are. Because if you say you want power, but your mornings begin in chaos. If you say you want wealth, but your days vanish in procrastination. If you say you want purpose, but your hours are owned by the trivial, then I must ask, what are you building? Whose legacy are you serving? Andrew Carnegie, born poor in a one-room weaver's cottage, didn't rise to power by accident. He rose because his time was structured like a fortress. Meetings were not suggestions. They were precise, deliberate, sacred. He once said, "Do your duty and a little more, and the future will take care of itself." But that little more, that edge, came not from talent. It came from how he structured his hours. Carnegie didn't wake to emotion. He woke to execution. And you, if you are to rise, if you are to become something greater, must begin there too. You must look at your time the way a general looks at a battlefield. Strategic, unforgiving, ruthless. Because time is either your greatest asset or your deadliest liability. You must not drift through your days. You must design them with the same precision Ford used to build an industry, with the same focus Edison used to summon light from failure, with the same intensity Lincoln used to hold a nation together through the fractures of war. These men didn't simply act. They scheduled their greatness. They carved it into the structure of their day. They didn't hope they would become. They trained their time to guarantee it. Thomas Edison was known to lock himself in his lab for days. Time wasn't something he watched pass. It was something he commanded. No phones, no interruptions, just mission. Because genius doesn't need more hours. It needs fewer leaks. And let me speak directly to you now. You don't need more time, you need more command. You need to audit your hours like they are gold, because they are. The man who owns his time owns his future. The man who lets it slip becomes a cautionary tale. Let me be ruthless with you, because life is ruthless with dreamers who delay. You say you don't have time to pursue your goals, but what if I tracked every hour of your week? How many hours would I find poured into entertainment? Into distraction? Into reaction? If you have time to scroll, you have time to scale. If you have time to watch others win, you have time to build your own victories. Time is not lacking. Discipline is. And the cure for mediocrity is not motivation, it is mastery of time. You must begin each morning not with reaction, but with declaration. You must decide what matters before the world decides for you. Because every minute you don't command is a minute that gets consumed. The clock is never still, and neither is destiny. You think you'll start when the conditions are better, but time doesn't care. You think you'll build when you're more confident, but time doesn't wait. You think you have more of it, but you don't. Let me be brutal one day. There will be a last time you see the people you love. A last time you walk through that door. A last sunrise you'll witness. And you won't know. It was the last until it's gone. So do not waste today pretending you have unlimited tomorrows. Do not waste another week in idle preparation. The man who waits to feel ready will be buried next to his potential. But the man who moves, who structures, who commands, becomes unstoppable. Not because of motivation, not because of inspiration, but because he learned to own time before time owned him. Because here is the secret the great ones knew: time is not managed, it is dominated. Henry Ford didn't ask for more hours in the day. He extracted more meaning from the ones he had. He built not just cars, but systems. Assembly lines weren't born from inspiration. They were born from a relentless obsession with efficiency, with making every movement, every second serve the vision. Ford's genius wasn't that he did more. It's that he did less of what didn't matter. He simplified. He eliminated the trivial. He cut the fat from time until only power remained. Now ask yourself, what do you tolerate in your day that weakens your edge? What moments do you let pass without purpose? Because every interruption, every unplanned hour, every quick scroll is not just a time leak. It is a belief leak. A leak in the identity of the man you say you are becoming. A man on fire does not entertain convenience. A man on mission does not chase noise. A man building legacy does not drown in distractions. Look at Abraham Lincoln, not as a monument, but as a man. He led a nation through blood chaos and civil fracture, and yet still carved time for silence, for letters, for strategy. He didn't allow urgency to dictate purpose. He created space for clarity. Even in the White House, with war pressing on every side, Lincoln protected his time with intention. Why? Because he understood that time is where leaders are made, or where they crumble. You may think your life is chaotic now, that you're overwhelmed, that you're too busy. But let me tell you the truth. Chaos is not the cause of your failure. It is the symptom of your lack of clarity. If your days are loud, your vision is quiet. If your calendar is crowded, your values are diluted. The man who becomes unstoppable is not the man who does the most, but the man who does the most important with ruthless consistency. This is not about time-blocking apps or productivity hacks. This is not about waking up at 5 a.m. to feel superior. This is about alignment. Your actions must match your aim. Your schedule must reflect your identity. And your identity must not be negotiated. Because make no mistake, every day you don't command your time, you are negotiating with weakness. You are letting your old self, the one who delays, who doubts, who drifts, sit at the head of your schedule. That man must be fired. You are no longer the man who lets time happen to him. You are the man who declares war on wasted hours. And the battlefield is not somewhere out there. It's in your next 15 minutes. The fight is won when you sit down, when you begin, when you push through, when you choose progress over perfection, discipline over dopamine, mission over mood. And no one will clap for you. No one will cheer. You will not be rewarded, not at first. But in the silence of those early battles, your character is being built. And soon the world will wonder how you did it, how you rose, how you built, how you stayed so consistent. They'll call it talent. They'll call it luck. But you will know it was time claimed. It was hours sharpened like blades. It was decisions made before emotion could interfere. You see, success is not something you pursue. It's something you schedule. Power is not something you wish for. It's something you install hour by hour. You must look at your day like a builder looks at blueprints. What gets placed? What gets cut? Where does each brick go? What foundation are you laying? Because here's what no one tells you. Your schedule is not just a plan. It is a prophecy. Whatever you repeat becomes your reality. So if you repeat distraction, you get disorder. If you repeat delay, you get decline. If you repeat purpose, if you repeat focus, if you repeat structure, your life will rise to meet it. Let me say this with fire. Time is your final currency. Not money, not attention, not opportunity. Because with time, you can earn money. You can build attention. You can create opportunity. But without time, everything collapses. And that is why average men fear structure, because structure demands responsibility. Structure forces identity. Structure leaves no room for the lie that you just need more motivation. Structure tells you the truth that the life you want is already possible, but your hours don't believe it yet. So now is the moment where the excuses end. Now is the moment where you look at your life not with regret, but with reckoning. Where you pick up the pen and begin writing your hours like a general draws plans for war. No more someday, no more reaction. From this moment forward, you will rise with a mission, and your day will serve it. You will carve your hours with purpose. You will measure your progress with focus. You will move like a man on fire, not because you're inspired, but because time is running out. Yes, time is running out. And that's not a threat. That's a gift. Because pressure is what creates diamonds, urgency is what sharpens the sword. And when you feel time slipping, when you feel the truth press against your chest, that's not fear. That's life finally asking you to rise. You see, most people wait until a diagnosis, a death, a disaster, before they start to live intentionally. They wait until time screams to realize it was always whispering. But not you, not anymore. You are no longer blind to the seconds you spend. You see every moment for what it is, not just a passing beat, but a building block of legacy. And if you can grasp that, truly grasp it, then the transformation begins. Because from this moment forward, every time you sit down to work, every time you rise early, every time you protect your calendar from chaos, you are not just managing your time, you are multiplying your life. This is how giants are built, not in noise, not in luck, but in the structure of disciplined days. Let's take a closer look at how the titans of history used time not as a flow, but as a forge. Think of Walt Disney, a man who was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination, a man whose first studio went bankrupt, but he didn't let time drift while he licked his wounds. He got up, he mapped out every hour with vision. Storyboarding not just cartoons, but empires. Disneyland wasn't luck. It was hours upon hours of planning, pitch meetings, drafts, setbacks, revisions, and still he showed up every single day, because that's what it takes to build a dream that outlives you. It's not about how much time you have, it's about how obsessed you are with making that time matter. Disney didn't hope to build magic, he scheduled the impossible until it became routine. And that's what you must do now, not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, not when life gets easier. Now, because waiting is just elegant procrastination, because hesitation is the language of the old identity, because every time you delay, you teach your mind that your dreams can wait and your mind starts believing it. But when you act, when you decide, when you schedule your vision into existence, your subconscious finally believes, this is who I am now. And that shift changes everything. But don't be fooled, it's not a one-time decision. It is the daily, ruthless, uncompromising repetition of choosing your future over your feelings. It's building time blocks so solid that even your excuses can't get in. It's saying no, not just to others, but to the weaker version of you that shows up every morning trying to negotiate. You don't negotiate with the old self. You replace him. You don't find time for your purpose, you carve it. You don't wait for silence to create, you protect it. You don't hope for momentum, you manufacture it through motion. Because time doesn't care how talented you are. Time doesn't reward potential. It only responds to those who command it. You must treat your calendar like sacred ground. Every block, every minute, must serve your future. Yes, this requires sacrifice. Yes, you'll be misunderstood. Yes, it's easier to stay comfortable. But comfort is not your mission. Legacy is, And you will not build a legacy on borrowed time, fractured focus, and scattered energy. You will build it the way Carnegie did with hours, guarded like gold. You will build it the way Lincoln did with space carved for depth, even in chaos. You will build it the way Edison did, through obsessive repetition, even through 10,000 failures. You will build it the way Ford did not, by doing everything but by building systems that magnified focus. And if you say, "But I don't have that kind of time," I will say to you plainly, you have the same 24 hours. So the question is not, do I have time, but will I command it? Because the man who doesn't own his time will always be owned by someone who does. You've seen it. Maybe you've lived it. You wake up late. You react to notifications. You bounce from task to task. You run out of hours and tell yourself tomorrow will be different. But it never is until you make one final decision. I am the architect of my time. I am the commander of my hours, and nothing enters my calendar that does not serve my calling. That decision, it is the line in the sand. It is the dividing point between the man who watches time pass and the man who bends it toward purpose. So now you must become militant with your focus, radical with your structure, obsessive with your hours, not because it's trendy, not because it's motivational, but because your time is your life, and you will no longer hand your life to distraction, to doubt, to delay. From this moment on, you are done surviving your schedule. You are here to build a kingdom out of every single day. You are here to build a kingdom out of every single day, and that means your rituals must now match your royalty. Every morning is no longer just a start. It is a summons, a call to war against weakness, doubt, and drift. You wake up not to see what happens, but to declare what will happen. Before the world even moves, you move your mind. Before the noise rises, you rise in silence. And there in that space, you build identity. There in the stillness, you write your chief aim. There in the mirror, you speak your belief. There, with nothing but breath and fire, you command the day before it dares to command you. Because time, if not owned, will be stolen. Stolen by algorithms, by inboxes, by other people's emergencies. But no more. You no longer answer every call. You no longer scroll every feed. You no longer apologize for protecting the temple of your calendar. Because this is not just about goals. This is about sovereignty. This is about remembering that you are not here to serve time. Time is here to serve you. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. Because the man who builds anything worth remembering must live differently than the man who remembers nothing about his days. You are not like the rest. You were not built for average. You were not made for routine survival. You are the exception. You are the rewrite. And your time must reflect that. Think of Steve Jobs, another titan who didn't allow time to leak through bureaucracy. He said no to 1,000 good ideas to protect the one that would shift history. Minimalism wasn't just his design philosophy. It was how he wielded time like a blade, cutting everything that didn't serve vision. You must now do the same. What will you cut? What hours must be reclaimed? What distractions must be exiled? Because you cannot protect your future while protecting your comfort. You cannot rise while coddling your excuses. You cannot command your destiny while letting your calendar run wild like an untrained animal. Structure is not restriction. Structure is freedom. It is how you multiply power. It is how you focus energy. It is how you give your mind a map to move from potential to performance. And now there is no going back. You've heard the truth. You felt it in your bones, the shame of wasted days, the ache of unrealized potential, the silent grief of time spent serving a version of yourself that was never worthy of the throne. But today is the rewrite. Today is when you pick up the pen and do not put it down. You don't wait for the mood. You don't beg for clarity. You move. You decide. You install the identity through action, not once, but relentlessly. And when resistance comes, because it will, you will meet it with routine. When fatigue speaks, you will answer with discipline. When the world tempts you to pause, to coast, to delay, you will respond with, "I do not drift, I dominate." You are no longer the man who runs from responsibility. You are the man who schedules it. You are the man who builds time blocks like fortresses around his vision. You are the man who wakes early not because it's popular, but because it is sacred. Because in the early morning when the world is still asleep, your soul is most awake. In that hour, the world belongs to you. And if you command those hours will build the world you dreamed of. Brick by brick, minute by minute. You don't need motivation. You need memory of who you decided to become. And that man does not beg time to serve him. He orders it. So let this be the final command you speak to yourself, not just today, but every day. I am the author now. My hours obey my mission. My calendar is my cathedral. My schedule is the sword I use to carve destiny into stone. I do not drift. I decide. I do not delay. I direct. I do not manage. Time, I command it. Because the world will not remember the man who watched the clock. It will remember the one who bent it, the one who owned it, the one who became it. You are that man. Now pick up the pen and write your hours in fire. This is the truth about time. Command it, or be owned by it.